Yeah, it is called the apparent position. It is called the apparent position. Whenever refraction occurs, there are two possible positions. One is the actual position of that object. Second one, due to refraction, we perceive the object to be somewhere else. That gives rise to what? Apparent position. So here also, this person will be able to see the apparent position, but he cannot tell the difference. He cannot tell the difference. He actually thinks this is what? The real position. When you look from outside, you cannot tell where, this is the apparent position. If you know your theory well, you can make that judgment. Fine. So here they are asked, keep looking for the coin from your position. Does the coin becomes visible again from your position? That is when you put water into it, does it become visible? That is the question here. Does it become visible?
Yes.
Yeah, it becomes visible. Why? Here they are also asked how. How does it become visible? It becomes visible due to refraction of light. The two incident rays coming from this coin is moving, striking on this interface. That is interface between water and air is moving from denser to rarer medium. And we know that whenever rays go from denser to rarer, it will bend away from the normal. And the conclusion is that two diverging rays strike your eye. Now, your eye make you to think that these two rays come from a common point somewhere in the water. And that common point you will get your image. And for this reason, this can also be considered to be a virtual image. Why? Because it is not formed by the meeting of two refracted rays. It is only an assumption. For this reason, we can see this is a virtual image. I hope this part is clear. Very simple activity to demonstrate refraction. Last day we discussed the same case with respect to that fish, catching fish. So whenever you go to catch fish or you see people catching fish, they always make this slight adjustment. If you don't know about that, it is very difficult for you to catch the fish. Now, again, another activity given in your textbook, that is refraction through glass slab. So give the heading in your notebook, refraction through rectangular glass slab. Refraction through rectangular glass slab. Now, what is a glass slab? Slab of glass. It's nothing but a cuboidal shape of glass, a three-dimensional shape of glass. That is a glass slab. So we are going to pass light through a glass slab and see what happens to it. So first of all, we need a glass slab. Along with me, draw it first. So you have a rectangular glass slab, name it as ABCD. ABCD. Now there are two possible ways. First one is what? Light will enter the glass slab, then pass through the glass slab, then it will leave the glass slab. So we can mark the medium there. First the light will enter from air to the glass, then later it will leave the glass back into air. So just note that air, glass, air. That are the medium separation. Now here first we will consider incident ray. So incident ray strikes at an angle with the refracting surface. That is, it is an inclined ray. Now here you will have the point of incidence. At the point of incidence, if I draw perpendicular, you will get the normal. So here this will be the normal. And put the arrow for the incident ray. Arrow for the incident ray. Now tell me, air and glass. Air and glass. So what will happen here? When light move from air to glass, which is rarer here? Air will be rarer medium. Glass will be denser medium. If light moves from rarer to denser, what will happen?
It will bend
It
towards
will,
the normal.
yeah, it will bend towards normal. So draw a line that is bending towards the normal. So if I draw it, it will be like this. And that will be a refracted ray. Put the arrows correct. So incident ray striking on the face AB. So AB is your interface. AB is your interface. After striking that AB interface, it will bend towards the normal and you can draw your refracted ray. Now you can also mark two possible angles here. First angle is the angle found between incident ray and the normal. This angle we can mark it as angle I. The angle found between incident ray and normal. And we call it as angle of incidence. Similarly, you can mark one more angle, that is the angle between refracted ray and normal. This we can call it as angle of refraction. So mark that two angles also there. I, angle of incidence, R, angle of refraction. Now observe what happens here. This refracted ray is striking the next interface CD. Now it is going from where? Which medium to which medium? Denser to rarer. So here the exact opposite thing happens compared to the first one. So now it is from denser to rarer. And at this point, again, I can construct a normal. So this also will be the normal ray. And again, what will happen here? Denser to rarer, it will bend away from the normal. First case towards normal, here away from the normal. And if I trace it, it will go like this. And this ray, we call it as emergent ray. Why emergent? Because it is emerging out of that glass slab. So 3 rays: incident ray, refracted ray, and finally emergent ray. And with respect to this emergent ray and refracted ray, I can mark 2 more angles. See here, this angle, either you can mark it as I2 because it is the angle of incidence for this interface CD. Or if I do the experiment, you will find this angle should also be equal to R. In logical way also you can think about it, because in first case also air to glass. So air to glass, how much it bends, that must be equal to what? When it goes from glass to air. Because the medium are same, air and glass, nothing else is there. So if it bend by so and so degree here, that much degree opposite it will bend in the opposite phase. So this will also be R. And this angle you can mark it as E. It is known as emergent angle, angle of emergence. Angle of emergence. Mark this all possible angles. Again, with respect to your practicals, this is a very important case because both in your 10th standard practical as well as 12th standard, when you reach 12 boards, this will be a practical exam. That means you have to stick 2 pins here, have to observe how does the pin appear here, then you have to retrace it. Then you have to take the ratio of sin I by sin R, prove laws of refraction. That is your practical exam. And when you do the practicals, you will also get angle of incidence is also equal to angle of emergence, because how much refraction that happens in the phase AB, that will be equal and opposite to the refraction happening on phase CD. Okay, now just note it down. Where I is the angle of incidence, R is the angle of refraction. Don't write reflection, refraction. E is the angle of emergence. And if you want, you can note down I is equal to E. Now one more thing I can do, try to extend this incident ray. If I extend this incident ray, you will get a ray like this. And here you can see a separation between this extended incident ray and the emergent ray. That separation I can mark by this symbol. So this is a sideways separation, or I can say there is a shift here. If the glass slab was not there, incident ray would have gone along this path. But as the glass slab is present, we can see the incident ray shift to a perpendicular distance sideways. So there is a sideways shift. And we call this particular distance as lateral displacement. So note down the term lateral displacement. Now how will you define lateral displacement? It is nothing but the perpendicular distance or separation between dash and dash. What is that? Extended incident ray and emergent ray. When light passes through a glass slab or rectangular glass slab. Write the definition for lateral displacement. It is the perpendicular distance between emergent ray and incident ray when light passes out of a glass slab. That is the meaning of lateral displacement. Imagine different cases. What happens if the glass slab is very thin? Here I have taken this. This is the thickness of the glass slab. Fine. Imagine if I take a glass slab of very low thickness. What will happen? This lateral shift will reduce considerably and almost appear to be straight. Almost appear to be straight. So that is an approximation you can make. As this thickness gets lower and lower, lateral displacement gets lower. Refraction through rectangular glass slab. Very simple case. Here there are 2 refraction happening. First from air to glass and second from glass to air. And what's the meaning? The 2 refraction happening here are equal and opposite. That also you can note it down. The refraction at phase AB and CD. Refraction happens at phases AB and CD. They are what? Equal and opposite. Equal and opposite. And as they are equal and opposite, what do you get? The incident ray will emerge parallel to the emergent ray. So you can write incident rays parallel to emergent ray. And this sideways shift, we call it as lateral displacement. Yeah, when you do with the glass slab, this is the picture that you see. Here also you can see incident ray, refracted ray, emergent ray. And if you extend it, you will get that sideways shift. Now one more case, if you can imagine, here I have taken an oblique ray or inclined ray. What happens if the ray strikes normally or perpendicularly? What happens if the ray strikes perpendicularly? Instead of inclined ray, what will happen if the ray strikes perpendicularly? Will it bend?
No.
No. So in that case, it will pass straight. It will pass straight. So you can imagine that case also here. When you pass light in a perpendicular or normally incident on this rectangular glass slab, it will pass without bending. Okay. This is again very important, laws of refraction. The first law statement is very simple. It is similar to that of again a statement from laws of reflection itself. The incident ray, the refracted ray, and normal all lie in the same way. This is the first law. Give the heading laws of refraction. Write down the first statement. The incident ray, the refracted ray, and normal all lie in the same plane. Now, same plane means what? If I draw the diagram that is incident ray, refracted ray, they will all be in the plane of the. Here I am talking about plane of the screen. So all will be in the plane of the screen itself. When you draw on your paper, all will be in the plane of paper. Nothing will come out of the plane. That is a meaning. Now, second statement. Second statement is even more important because that is something new. Whenever light goes from one medium to another, you will get incident angle of incidence and angle of refraction. Now, if you take sine of angle of incidence, if you take sine of angle of incidence and divide it by sine of angle of refraction, and this if you take the ratio, sine of angle of incidence and sine of angle of refraction, it will be a constant. It will be a constant. That is the second one. And this law we commonly call it as Snell's law. And Snell, it is named after a very famous scientist who have done experiments regarding to refraction. In order to honor him, we have named this law after him. Write it down. The ratio of sine of angle of incidence to the sine of angle of refraction is constant for a light of a given color. Again, this is also very important for a light of a given color. Meaning, I'm not talking about white light here. If I pass white light through a glass lamp and all, there is chances for dispersion. You already know white light is a mixture of what? Different colors. So we avoid white light, we will take a particular component of color. That is either red light or green light. When we take white light, you can take no issues, but white light will show dispersion. That we'll discuss in the case of prism. And given pair of media. Given pair of media means what? If I take the last example, either it will be air to glass. So from air to glass, this ratio will be constant. See, have you studied trigonometry or any idea what is this sine? Are you familiar with this term sine? If not, you will study very shortly this year itself. It is nothing but a trigonometric ratio. That is, if you take a right angle triangle, and if I mark it as A, B, C. If you take a right angle triangle, if this is theta, this is the angle theta here. Now, sine theta is nothing but a ratio. If I take sine theta, it is the ratio of opposite side. Here, the opposite side is what? AB. Opposite side by the hypotenuse itself, AC. This is sine theta. You will study very shortly, no need to worry. Once you study that, you can revisit this portion, then it will be more clear. And you will also study different values of theta. That is, what if theta is 0? We'll study sine 0 to be 0, sine 30, 1 by 2, sine 45, 1 by root 2, sine 91. Like that, you will have to study different values for theta. So no need to worry about sine theta. You will study very shortly in maths. You have very long chapter, and again, exam weightage for that chapter is also high. So just understand it is a trigonometric ratio. Sine is nothing but trigonometric ratio. Apart from sine, you have cos, tan, and all. So remember to revisit this statement once after you cover that trigonometry portion in maths. Don't forget. So the equation, if I write, it will be sin A by sin R is equal to a constant. And this constant I am taking as n suffix 2 1 or n subscript 2 1. So write it down. Mathematically, it is sin I by sin R is equal to constant n2. And this constant we call it as refractive index. This constant we call it as refractive index. Write it down. Refractive index. In your textbook, it is simply written constant, but it is always better to write what is that constant. This constant is known as refractive index. And here I have written what? N21, right? N21. And you must also know how to read this N21. It is read as what? If I write 2 first, it is read as refractive index of medium 2 with respect to this. This is with respect to medium. N21 is refractive index of medium 2 with respect to medium 1. Or if I expand N21, you can expand it and write N2 divided by N1. This is the meaning of N21. Again, what is N21? It is a refractive index of medium 2 with respect to medium 1. Or tell me what is then N12. If I write N12, what is that? How will you read N12? It is refractive index of medium 1 with respect to 2. Or here I can write N1 by N2. Or here, instead of 190, you can take any other medium also. Suppose I am taking refractive index of glass GW. G means glass, W means water. Then what will be? It is refractive index of glass with respect to refractive index of water. That is me. So know how to read N21. It is refractive index of one medium with respect to other. Consider this diagram here. So light is entering from first medium to second medium. So here you will have angle of incidence. Here you will have angle of refraction. What does Snell's law tell? Sin I by sin I. And you will get N21. And what is N21? N2 divided by N. And very shortly we will study more about refractive index. Get clear with this because many of you tend to forget or confuse with how to read this thing. Very simple. N21 can be written as refractive index of medium 2 with respect to medium 1. What is written first? That with respect to second medium. That is the idea. Completed, yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. Now we need to study what is refractive index in detail. Refractive index in detail. So just to give the heading, refractive index. Give the heading, refractive index. Again, very, very important, refractive index. Imagine you have different medium, M1, M2, M3. Now, last time we told speed of light changes in different medium. It changes in all the three mediums separately. That is, suppose speed of light in medium 1 is V1, V2, V3. We need to understand how does the speed of light vary. That is, in a given medium, how does speed of light vary? That is, I need to compare. For that, you need a quantity. That means I need a quantity to express how is the speed of light changing in a given medium. Or if I understand how does the speed of light changes in a given medium, we can also understand about how does light bend. In which medium light will bend more, in which medium light will bend less. So to understand all these terms, you have a constant, and that constant it is known as refractive index. See, in some textbook you will also see a symbol for refractive index as this one. This is read as mu. Here I am sticking on to n. Now just write refractive index. It is nothing but value which is used to express the extent of change in speed. That is how much change of speed occurs in a given medium. So refractive index is just a value used to express the extent of change in speed in a given pair of medium. Or in other words, you can write it depends on the speed of light in the two given medium. Now we will study an equation for refractive index. And so I'm going to take N21. N21 it is read as refractive index of medium 2 with respect to medium 1. Equation is speed of light in medium 1 divided by speed of light in medium 2. Or if I expand, it is V1 by V2. And N21 I have already told. N21 is what? Refractive index of medium 2 with respect to refractive index of medium 1. So new equation is what? It is V1 by V2. What is V1? It is the speed of light in medium 1 with the speed of light in medium 2. So that is refractive index equation. For example, consider this case. Here this is medium 1 and this is medium 2. To write refractive index, what should I do? N21 is given by speed of light in medium 1. Suppose this is V1 and second medium speed of light is V2. So refractive index V1 by V2. Or what if I write the reverse? If I take N12, what will be the equation? It will be V2 by V1. N12 is refractive index of medium 1 with respect to medium 2 will be speed of light in medium 2 divided by speed of light in medium 1. Simple idea, nothing, just to take the ratio of speed in the two medium, that's all, nothing else. What is the use of refractive index? It is used to show the extent of change in speed. Now later we'll study about different types of refractive index. This is also known as relative refractive index. That is whenever you compare, relative means what? Comparison. When you compare the refractive index of any two given medium, this is known as relative refractive index. So N21 is called relative refractive index. Yeah, now we are moving to another very important term, that is absolute refractive index. So here you have taken any two medium, right? Here I have taken medium 1 can be anything, medium 2 can be anything. But next we are going to fix the first medium to be air or vacuum. Next we are going to fix the first medium to air or vacuum. So this we will take it as a standard. So to express the next term, I'm going to fix one thing, that is what? I'm going to fix the first medium to always be air or vacuum. So you will always consider light entering from air or vacuum to a given medium. That is the second case. If you consider that, we'll get a new term known as absolute refractive index. So next to give the heading absolute refractive index. Absolute refractive index. Now write the definition. It is the refractive index of a medium with respect to vacuum. That means I told, if I consider two medium, first medium you will take it as air or vacuum. Why air or vacuum? Last day I told, speed of light is almost similar in both air and vacuum. That is why you can take air or vacuum interchangeable. Now second can be any particular medium. It can be glass, water, diamond, anything. Or definition wise, you can write study this thing. So light goes from air to vacuum, we can write N medium to vacuum. That is N21 instead of this. Here this is the first medium, this is the second medium. So if I write N21, 2 is what? This medium we are considering. This particular medium we are considering. First medium is what? Vacuum or air. So you can write NMV. And always refractive index of vacuum is 1. So we will simply write N. For that reason, absolute refractive index, we can also call it as refractive index of a medium. In bracket NM. Actually, I should write NMV. But refractive index of vacuum is 1. So we will avoid that 1. We will simply write NM. Meaning refractive index of a medium. Now what is that? It is defined as speed of light in vacuum to the speed of light in medium. So equation wise, it becomes like refractive index of a medium or absolute refractive index is equal to speed of light in vacuum or air divided by speed of light in medium. Equation C by D. Or separately, N is equal to C by D. So it is the same as the previous case. Last case I told what? N21. What is N21? It is V1 by V2. Here I told we are considering the first medium to be air. So this is V1. This is V2. And what is the speed of light in air? We approximate it to be C. C means speed of light. C is speed of light. You already know the value. 3 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. So as you, V1 is C. And V2 will take speed of light in the given medium. So you can write V suffix M also here. V suffix M. This speed of light in the given medium. Understood this much? Refractive index, what is the meaning? It is a ratio of speed of light in vacuum to the speed of light in the given medium. That's all. Okay, then for time being, we'll stop it here. Many of you might be confused, no issues. I will explain it again tomorrow. Try to read the textbook portion. And if you doubts, we'll again explain it tomorrow. It is very easy, just understand. If you have taken the notes, just go through that equation. Very simple idea. It is nothing but the ratio of two speeds. What is the use? To denote how the speed of light changes in a given medium. That is the meaning of refractive index. So by heart this equation. Yeah, tomorrow we'll continue. If any doubts, you can ask. I will again discuss this tomorrow.